Hey, my name is Matt. This is my first ever YouTube video on this channel, and it's probably going to be pretty horrible, so let me apologize in advance for that. This is just being filmed with my webcam, and this is really just kind of a test video, as is probably going to be the next couple that I make, just to see what happens. I'm just hoping maybe to get some fun and conversation out of this, and it's no big deal if it doesn't get a lot of views or popularity or anything like that. But as the title implies, this is going to be about the Sith Code and nihilism and some of the correlations I think there are between the two of them, which may sound a little bit weird, but as I get into it, maybe it'll make a little more sense. First, before that, why I have such an interest in such a weird thing. I am a nihilistic atheist, and I come from a fundamentalist Christian background where I was kind of taught the polar opposite of everything I believe now, that the world was pure black and white with absolute values of good and evil. And just to give you one kind of example of what I mean, at the fundamentalist school I went to, it was so extreme that we had all of the dice removed from all of our board games that we had at the school because dice were of gambling and gambling was of the devil. So it was pretty strict. And now, after about 6-7 years after I got out of that school, I became an atheist, and also now I consider myself at least nihilistic and liberal in my beliefs, though I don't know if I'd call myself a full nihilist. But part of the reason that I thought that this would just be an interesting topic would be that I started reading Sith lore and Star Wars a long time before I actually started reading atheist or Nietzsche or, atheist teachings like Dawkins and Hitchens or nihilist teachings by Nietzsche. And that's partially because I wasn't allowed to. I mean, our school never had anything like that within its library. And even within the house I grew up, I mean, it would have been pretty bad if I was caught with an atheist book. It would have got me in a lot of trouble. So that was the first time I had been able to be exposed to anything that kind of ran contrary to the Christian teachings that I had. And I remember always drawing the comparison myself between the Jedi Order and kind of the Christian group that I came from, as well as somewhat seeing atheists and nihilists being more similar to the Sith. And since I've become an atheist and a nihilist, I have found that to be even more true, even though I know that sounds pretty childish. But if you think about it, the Jedi have a very strict set of codes, rules. They're not allowed to love. They're not allowed to have anger. They're not allowed to have possessions. They're not allowed to, they have to follow pretty much whatever the council tells them in terms of how they conduct themselves. And it's very strict and regulated, and that's in many ways similar to the way a lot of churches and mosques are. There's very set absolute values and rules and ideas, and honestly, most of them don't make any sense, but there's obviously restrictions on the church on who you can love, on terms on who you can get married to. There's just a whole bunch of rules. And then, of course, you go over to the atheist nihilist side, and it's the polar opposite. There's hardly any organizations even out there, despite the fact that it's the main way of thinking now. We basically do live in a postmodern world, especially here in the United States. But you're not going to find major atheist organizations like you would in a church. And atheists really never unite together unless it's just against religion, in the same way that the Sith never united unless it was just against the Jedi, like in the Darth Bane era books, where they united against them only because they were trying to fight the threat of extermination from the Jedi. But the Sith also have similarities to Nietzsche's teachings. Nietzsche of course, with the Sith, passion is the most important thing. Through passion, I gain strength. Then, of course, comes power. Through strength, I gain power. But additionally, the Sith are about self-determinism. The Sith are about making your own destiny. And there are very few rules. In fact, Palpatine once said himself, the only rule of the Sith is the rule of two, which, while that one doesn't apply to nihilists or atheists, it, again, is very similar to how in nihilism, really the only rule is that no rules are absolute. There's no absolute rules or absolute meaning. And if you think about it, there are a lot of maybe just soft similarities between the two, though I know you have to be careful about drawing too many hard comparisons. But I've always found that interesting. I'm surprised that there aren't more people out there that seem to find that a little bit more fun and just kind of interesting to speculate on, because I've only found one other video on this on the internet, and actually, if you can believe it, I think it's actually worse quality than this video I'm making here. So, but like I said, maybe that'll change with some of my upcoming videos. And after this, I plan on making a video on the Joker and nihilism, even though there's a lot more videos out there like that. So it definitely won't be the first of that kind. I'm also going to make a video detailing some of my personal journey from a fundamentalist Christian world to being a nihilistic atheist. And given that I was, and still am, the only one out of a class of about 50 people that became an atheist from that school, I had a pretty interesting journey kind of getting away from that world, and one that would probably be one that people who come from more liberal backgrounds would have trouble believing. So, yeah, just like, share, subscribe, say what you think you'd like me to see put in my next video. Like I said, it's no big deal. I'm just going to be making a couple of videos after this, and if this channel doesn't work out, you know, it's just for fun and conversation. So, hope you didn't suffer from this too much. Bye.